to find a way to win a game. Kind of a tale of two halves, and all of you that watched it offensively, defensively, first half, really pleased. I think we had 4 possessions in the first half, found points on all 4 of them. Ended the half with some points. We were feeling good there, but then it totally flipped in the second half. Credit to Purdue, whether that's some adjustments, things like that, but those guys battled for 4 quarters. Credit some to our defense too. Early second half, gave up a couple of scores there, but found a way fourth quarter to tighten things down and to give up 17 points and have 2 turnovers defensively. That's a solid effort. Offensively, we got to play for 4 quarters, and we want to do that better. But found a way to win a game. Got another home game with a lot to play for next week.
Jonathan, I was wondering if you had an update on Jack and how he's doing.
I spoke to him on the phone in the locker room just a bit ago at the hospital. Thorough, precautionary type things, but he was in good spirits. He was able to watch the game, but I don't have anything definitive.
And then as far as the offense, I guess, was there anything that you guys were just not doing, that you were doing in the first half that you just couldn't execute in the second half with?
Without thoroughly looking at the tape, I think a couple of things. They did show us a couple of pressure pictures that we didn't handle very well, and then there was just some lack of execution, whether that's route detail. We got guys a couple times running into each other. We missed a go ball. Montori's open. We missed that. That could have helped us. But there was a stint there, I want to say it's 3 or 4 drives, where we got to be able to separate the game more.
Jonathan, in the middle here, you guys have talked about finding more consistency within games. Obviously, this is a pretty extreme example of that. But I'm curious, when you see the second half, how it goes, is there a sense of disappointment that, look, these moments of progress couldn't really build throughout the game?
Yeah, I mean, you're in the second half, and you want something to click, to, again, separate the thing a little bit more. But the third quarter, those guys fought back, right? You punt them the ball, and they go and score. You punt them the ball, they go and score, and all of a sudden it's a 1-score game. I will say, looking at that, it became a 1-score game, and it was for a while there, most of the fourth quarter, and our guys, there was no panic, and those guys found a way at the end to do enough to win the game.
Kind of a question along those lines. Why was there no panic? I mean, when you look at those guys down the sideline, when things start to get close, I mean, what do you think allowed the resolve to pull this through?
Yeah, we do talk about it. College football is a long game, man. There's going to be some momentum swings. You don't win the thing at halftime. So just because you address it knowing that there's going to be some peaks and valleys within a game, but also understand the urgency as this game's going on, and it's going to look closer. We got to create a play. I think there's some belief that a play can be made, and defensively, got a couple of turnovers, and then let's say, offensively, to be able to ice the game, 4th down, go get it to win the game. There's some positives there.
Coach, you got obviously some upperclassmen, seniors, and guys that make a lot of difference. Can you talk about somebody like a Montori Foster, who is a guy in that locker room that I'm sure those guys look up to, and I guess what he means to this team in a situation like you had tonight where things got tight?
Yeah, his leadership, he was our captain of the week out there even tonight. He's been really solid for us. Again, offensively, he had a nice game, separating, making some plays. I think about that goal, kind of the deep ball into the half that he had for us. He's been our punt returner, great decision maker back there and fielding that thing because the elements weren't ideal. You think about a few of these guys, especially been around here for a while. This guy has made a huge difference for us, and that's why I go back to this next week for guys like that. This is a huge game next week.
Real quick, Jonathan, I was wondering about Daquan Dowse. I don't think we saw him out there. Was everything all right?
He tried. He's been dealing with through the week. He was pretty light, but he tried in pregame. We were optimistic that maybe pregame he'd be able to do it. Couldn't. Hopefully next week.
Gotcha. We see a guy like Ruquan Buckley making the block field goal for you guys. One of your assistants, I want to say it was Chad Wilt, maybe mentioned how bought in he was to that role specifically a couple weeks ago. Older guy who doesn't play a lot, making a big play for you late in the season. Does that sort of, to you, symbolize where this team's at in terms of still fighting those type of things?
Yeah, I mean, the guys have, and they've accepted their roles, and some of those roles haven't been huge throughout the year. But Rue's been, mixing in there. We've rotated at D-line, but for him to have a couple of plays tonight in some particular packages, it was great to see.
Jonathan, I was wondering, we saw Nate and K-Ron both pretty involved in the pass game. Was that something specifically you designed for today, or was that just kind of the way it worked out with the reads?
I don't know if it was specific just today, like, we loved the matchup. We've tried a couple of different things to get him different touches besides handing it to him. That was a huge red zone touchdown by Nate. He's had a couple of nice catches this back half of the season. And I thought really both those guys played pretty well tonight.
The last play, I mean, short yardage has been an issue at times this year. I guess, first of all, the play right before that with Aiden, he said he kind of didn't see the marker right, maybe. But to give him the ball back and get the tough yard with the line, I guess, what does that mean for this team with one more left?
Yeah, so the previous play, the third down, those markers aren't always exact. Like when a play's coming to the sideline, those guys back up and whatnot. He was, I thought, pretty close to getting it. He wasn't. And so then you go through some deep thinking here. So it's fourth and less than a yard. Well, you get the first down, clockwise they were out of timeout, so you win the game. Obviously, we feel really confident with our kicker to make it 2 scores, but with the elements and where that was at, felt like the best play is like, look, you got to go get a half a yard to win the game, and that was the call. I'm glad we got it done. Well, I hope they build some confidence, because we put confidence in them to win the game up front, and they got it done.
Jonathan, in the middle, Nakai talked about how over guys' careers, they've gained the experience to be able to maybe flush some negative plays, bad moments, things like that. And I'm curious, when you have so many guys who are out in the secondary and so many young players stepping into those roles, is that a maybe problem you're dealing with, getting those players to learn how to flush it and just move on?
There's a technique. I mean, there is something to this. This game is not a game of perfect. We've talked about it, and bad plays are going to happen. They've got good players, too. They're going to make a play. So the ability to bounce back is a skill set you got to have as a football player. In regards to that secondary, I think it's somewhat credit to that group. We are playing a lot of different guys back there. We've had guys go down. We got youngsters in the game, and they keep on scratching and clawing, and we're going to need it again next week.
How important was it for you guys to see some of these pressures take effect and affect the quarterback? You get the sack early and get a couple more there. Just when that hasn't been there always this season, how important was it to get some of those pressures?
I thought it helped early on. We got there. I think it was first drive, right? Jello gets the guy down for a sack and kind of give us a little bit of life there, and feeling like we can affect the passer. And again, we're going to want to do it more. They threw it a bunch, and there was plenty of time. He had a lot of time to throw it, but we've got to be able to get the guy on the ground, the quarterback. And credit to Joe to continue to tinker schematically in regards to whether it's pressure packages. There's plenty of times, too, we only rush 3 guys because we're kind of playing coverage, and you're mixing and matching both those.
I think in the second half, through the air, Michigan State was 5 of 12 for 39 yards in the second half. There was a deep shot that you had someone open, but what did you see were the problems in getting people open? Sometimes maybe there were people open, but he didn't see it. There's pressure and so forth. But the passing game in the second half, elements also. But.
Wasn't very clean at all. I think a little bit like that third quarter. Yeah, we missed Montori down the sideline. We've got Nick on an in route on third down. Well, again, the route placement between the tight end route, he's supposed to be cleared. Nick's supposed to be coming underneath him. He's actually going over the top of him, and then the ball's incomplete. So we've had some mishaps in detail in the passing game in that third quarter. Fourth quarter, a little bit, you're trying to run the clock a little bit more, so the attempts were down. But I think about that third quarter execution detail needs to be better.
Just wondering, Jonathan, you talked on the Child's run to the sticks there. Did you guys think about challenging? Was it that close? Or
well, because it went to the warning, I definitely did. And they said they were going to definitely take a look at it at the warning, and then supposedly it was confirmed after they took a look at it.
They just handled it themselves at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you.